Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this occasion, we would like to present you all our presentation for Introduction to Linguistic class. This is the last project for the second semester. The members of the group are INDAH CHAIRANI, IZAM ZULFA NENGSIH, and TARI FITRIYANA. The material will be brought by Group 4. The title is Language Acquisition. This material will explain about apply in real life about the acquisition of language. The first material will be explained by IZAM ZULFA.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am IZAM ZULFA NENGSIH and I will explain about Introduction to Language Acquisition. What is language acquisition? Language acquisition is the process by which humans acquire the capacity to perceive and comprehend language, as well as to produce and use words and sentences to communicate. Next one is review of related theories. The three theories of language acquisition is imitation, reinforcement, and analogy. Do not explain very well how children acquire language. Imitation does not work because children produce sentences never heard before, such as cat stand up table. First, language acquisition refers to the way children learn their native language. Second, language acquisition refers to the learning of another language or languages besides the native language. For children, learning their native language, linguistic competence develops in stage, from babbling to one word to two words, then telegraphic speech. Babbling is not considered the earliest form of language acquisition because infants will produce sounds based on what language input they receive. One-word sentences are generally monosyllabic in consonant-vowel clusters. During two-word stage, there are no syntactics or morphological markers, no inflection for plural or past tense. On pronouns are rare, but intonation contour extends over the whole utterance. Telegraphic speech lacks function words and only carries the open class content words, so that the sentences sound like a telegraph. Acquisitions phonology. A child's error in pronunciation is not random, but rule-governed. Typical phonological rules include like consonant cluster simplification, like spoon becomes spoon, the voicing of final consonants like dog becomes duck, or voicing of initial consonants like truck becomes truck, and consonant harmony like doggy becomes guggy or big becomes gig. The second one is morphology. Morphology acquisitions. And morphology acquisition is an overgeneralization of constructed rules in shown when children treat irregular verbs and nouns as regular, instead of when as the past tense have go. Children use got because the regular verbs add and add ending to form the past tense. Similarly, children use gooses as the plural of goose instead of geese because regular nouns add and as in the plural. The innateness hypothesis of child language acquisition, proposed by Noam Chomsky, states that the human species is pre-wired to acquire language, and that the kind of language is also determined. Many factors have led to this hypothesis, such as the ease and rapidity of language acquisition, despite impoverished input, as well as the uniformity of languages. All children will learn a language, and children will also learn more than one language if they are exposed to it. Children follow the same general stages when learning a language, although the linguistic input is widely varied. The next one is data analysis. How do children in West Sumatra understand the Minangkabau language? When babies are born, they can't hear or distinguish all the sounds in the languages in the world. Children acquire language through interaction, not only with their parents and other adults, but also with other children. All normal children who grow up in normal households, surrounded by conversation, will acquire the language that is being used around them. And it is just as easy for a child to acquire two or more languages at the same time, as long as they are regularly interacting with speakers of those languages. The best way to promote language development for babies is simply to talk to the child. Babies learn by experiencing and listening to the world around them. So the more language they are exposed to hear, the more better. Children in Minangkabau also use the same way. They understand their mother tongue by processing repetitive data and inferring a word with their own understanding. Children in Minangkabau also learn through the surrounding environment, indirectly even if only by observing. Early childhood can understand their mother tongue very well. The second data analysis is how do teenagers in Minangkabau learn the Minangkabau language. Teaching teenagers is often the dread of many language teachers. In America, middle school teachers have an alarming professional dropout rate, and the frustrations are evident in one talks with any teacher teaching teens. Consider these teachers' comments from a podcast on teaching English to teenagers. Scientists have long posited that there is a critical period for language learning, but new research suggests that the time frame stretches on much longer than previously thought. Learning the Minangkabau language, which has become the mother tongue, is not that difficult for teenagers under 12 years old, for teenagers over 12 years old. For teenagers under 12 years old. But there are some important aspects of the Minang language that are not learned at home. Because in Minangkabau, there are rules to speak depending on who we talk to. Speaking to other people should use respectful and polite language. Speaking to Sumando, what we call it in brother-in-law, should use figurative language. Speaking to younger people should use gentle words, while talking to friends using informal language, but it is still polite. Things like those mentioned above are not learned at home, so teenagers have to learn them at school. The subject that discusses this is BAM. BAM is a subject. It means Minangkabau natural culture or budaya ala Minangkabau. The use of language in Minangkabau cannot be the same throughout the region because each region has a different accent.
Time in Minangkabau affect the youth's ability to use Indonesian national language? Yes, it does. When they're teenager, the system no longer has any effect, so it is difficult for children to learn new language and have not been exposed to it, especially if they are not familiar with Indonesian language. Indonesians mostly use regional language to communicate in their place. So children since baby they have learned regional language, not Indonesian language. They will learn national language when they are youth or they come to a new environment. It is a fake when when they have learned regional language and have not learned Indonesian language. Daily life, children use regional language. It is difficult to change their habit to use Indonesian language. It will affect the Indonesian language. Like if in Minang, bahasa Indonesia yang diminangkan atau bahasa Minang yang di-Indonesiakan. It has the effect to each other. The next one is about, does the place of residence affect a personal language skills? Yes, it does. There are several terms and aspects of language development, including language, talk, and communication. Language development is one of the indicators in cognitive development a child. This relates to his success or delay in think and communicate in their environment. A child who is said to be slow in language can affect their personality and daily communication skill or social environment. Social environment and culture settings is the most important effect to the children to learn languages. Indonesia is known for its diverse culture. There are many cultures in every place in Indonesia. There are cultural differences affect the development of children's language, especially the national language and the regional language. Children who live in area which is actively use the regional language, there will be difficult to speak Indonesia because they rarely speak in Indonesia language. Condition in the children live make them difficult to speak English. Why? Maybe because the culture in the place is still thick, so everyone in that place still use regional language to communicate. It forces children to speak regional language instead of bahasa Indonesia. How is the children language after puberty? Boca found that increasing age was correlated with an increase in a person conversation in speaking. It also becomes ambiguously whether language pattern in society change over time or whether speakers become more conservative as they age, for both reasons. From birth through puberty, children learn language rapidly and efficiently due to their natural brain plasticity and cognitive flexibility. After puberty, however, language acquisition becomes progressively more difficult, or our ability to learn new language steadily. It is because the system in our brain start not to give a big effect. It is increasing slowly, so that's why we can catch a new language quickly as we are baby. Changes in brain.
6. Does bilingualism exist in West Sumatra? Language the Minangkabau community in general is a bilingual society. According to Civil Track 2003, communication in a bilingual community can be expressed through different languages or different dialects and varieties of languages, different communication channels, and different registers. So the example is the people from Payakumbuh and the people from Bukit Tinggi, their dialects is different. So we can conclude that bilingualism exists in West Sumatra. Finding the fact about data analysis. There are facts about how young teenager learns about language in West Sumatra. In the Minangkabau community, there are separate rules for communicating. This rule is known as katonan ampe. The ampe kato are kato mendaki, kato menurun, kato mendata, and kato melera. We can use kato mendaki when we talk with older people. We can use kato menurun when we talk with our with our little sister. And next, we can use kata menata when we talk with our friends. And the last one is kata melarang. We can use this when we talk with our brother-in-law. Next discussion. Research on second language acquisition focus on the development of language knowledge and use by children and adults who know at least one other language. Some theories emphasize the importance of child innate characteristics, and some emphasize the important role of the environment in the language learning process. So in language acquisition, we talk about how children uh, learn language and how adults know at least one other language. The last one is conclusion. There are many factors that influence language development in children, such as place, environment, and children's intelligence. Over time, new words and language will appear to influence children's communication. The ability to speak also affects our ability to socialize with other people. So the conclusion is uh, there are some factors that influence language development. The factors is place, environment, and children's intelligence.